going back to what I mentioned earlier in my discussion on who would do the trade, Philly or Brooklyn, you know, yeah, they are really big egos, right? There's no doubting that. There's no debating that. Now, they're lucky that their head coach isn't a normal rookie head coach. He's Steve Nash. He's no stranger to egos in the locker room. He's seen it before a million times in Phoenix. He's seen it in LA with Dwight and Kobe. Part of me hopes he can work with it, but then you have that report that came out earlier that Kyrie was never in favor of hiring Steve Nash. So it comes down to seeing which. I'm curious to see which of those three takes a step back. Now, Ray Allen had mentioned earlier in the week that for James Harden to succeed, he's going to have to take a step back and take a role that Ray did for Boston, which I don't think that'll happen. I don't think Kyrie Irving's going to take a step back, and I most certainly do not think Kevin Durant's going to take a step back either. He's on a revenge tour. I think it works, but it's just I got to see which one of those guys takes that step back.
I agree. I mean, you look at that roster, you look at those three, one of them has to take a step back. You can't have three guys wanting to be the number one guy on the team. And right now, I will say Steve Nash has done a good job with really balancing out Durant and Kyrie. But now with Harden coming in, I do feel for Steve Nash. I think he has the hardest job in the NBA. Some might not look at it as that. Some might look at it as, hey, well, Steve Nash is on a team with three superstars. His assistant coach is James Harden's former head coach, the guy he wants to play for. You
Hey,
have
that's a good point.
Kyrie and Durant that supposedly were best friends. Now there's a little bit of rumors going on. We'll get to that just in a second. But I did want to talk about the dynamics of all this. The Nets have everything in their favor right now from an outsider's perspective, right? You have the relationship between Harden and D'Antoni. Bam, that's an automatic plus. Then you have Kyrie and Durant. Bam, that's another plus. Then you have Steve Nash and the rest of the team because Steve Nash is a younger coach, and that's the type of coach that Kyrie and Durant at first wanted. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And let's talk about that right now, Caleb. Kyrie Irving has reportedly been furious at the Nets for not giving him more input on their head coaching hire and was not in favor of head coach Steve Nash. His relationship with Kevin Durant recently has also been described as very distant. Given these facts, Caleb, does that change how you feel? Do you think anything of Kyrie's stance on how he feels about Steve Nash or how he feels about the Brooklyn organization, do you think that changed at all with this trade? Or do you think that this is going to be a lingering problem and the Nets need to figure out what the hell is going on with Kyrie before they even bring in James Harden?
the Man, it's so hard to get excited for the Nets because there's just so much mystery around Kyrie Irving right now. Part of me, like, okay, any other time this would happen, you would think, oh my gosh, those guys are going to be super excited to be able to play with a guy like this. But with Kyrie Irving, you really don't know how he feels until he comes out and says it. And even when he says it, you're still not entirely sure. Um, man, part of me would imagine they're able to put all this stuff behind them and kind of go for it. But it's going to be hard, man. There's a lot of egos to judge. But like you mentioned with D'Antoni and Harden getting back together, I would argue that D'Antoni's probably the best coach Harden's ever played for in terms of who gets Harden, who understands Harden. I'm confident it'll work, but man, one of those guys is going to have to take a back seat to all this. And I don't know who that'll be. I would bet my money that it has to be Kyrie Irving, but I don't know how he's going to feel about that because
It's
KD's
so
not.
hard. You bring up such a good point about how one of them have to take a step back, and I keep thinking about it. I'm like, who the hell would take a step back? You're telling
Would
me Kyrie
KD?
Irving is gonna take a step back? I don't see it.
Listen, would Kevin Durant take a step back? He did whenever he was in Golden State. He kind of let, the offense come to him. But here's the thing. I feel like KD, the big reason he went to his own team was to kind of show people like, nah, I can still be that guy that you guys said I wasn't because I wanted to go on state. And now is he going to be okay? But he's averaging 30. So is he going to really want to take that step back to that second, not second role, but that sidekick role again? Is he really going to want to do that? Like, I don't think, man. I
And one
think,
of the things I was gonna talk about with you today was, do you think Durant at any bit regrets leaving Golden State and leaving a guy like Steph Curry? Because look at it, bro. You can't tell me that you go from Steph Curry, the most selfless superstar in the game of basketball, the only superstar that's ever taken a step back, to multiple superstars on his team. And when it comes to chemistry wise, he'll do anything to win a championship. Kyrie Irving is not that same guy.